Welcome to another episode of the Marvin Constant Show. I'm here with my co-host, Joseph, the man, the myth, the legend, championship belt and all.
Marvin, thank you for having me, man. It's great. Hey, Marvin, hold on 1 second. Yes, go ahead, Bubba. Oh, for real? All right, good. Hey, Marvin.
Yes, sir.
News that you're not going to get anywhere else, not on Fox Sports, not on SEC Network. It's just been reported, even though the NCAA is giving blanket eligibility to scholarship players in 2020. Okay, I got it. Thank you. Win or lose, Auburn football players are still going to continue tradition, and they're still going to celebrate in the shower. So good news for the Auburn football community.
You are special. I just want you to know. You are special. On this episode, we actually have one of my very, very, very good friends, man. There's no words that I can put into to explain what this guy is, what he does, what he means. So, the man himself, Tony Dixon.
What's happening? What's happening, crew?
What's good, brother? How's life treating you?
Life is treating me good, man. You know, just trying to stay away from COVID, but other than that, we're good.
Okay. Well, you know, I want to dive right into it. So I got to give you props for something first and foremost. So my first question is something that myself, and Gerald Dixon often talked about in terms of you. We always said that Tony was way more polished than every other person we knew when it came to academics and being about his business in terms of internships and being completely focused. I'm pretty sure that came from your family, from mom and dad, and that solid foundation they provided you. So can you just tell me what exactly they did and how much it prepared you for college opposed to us who just showed up and like, hey, we're here?
Oh, man, y'all are a trip, man. But, hey, I appreciate that. But I tell you, you know, my goal when I came to Alabama was simply to graduate, quite candidly. Being the first generation college student in my family, it had been ingrained in me from the get-go that, hey, this sport thing may end one day, but you can always fall back on education. So I'll tell you, one of the big things I was going through, I wanted to have the ability to, even if I could not perform on the field, I wanted to have the ability to get an academic scholarship. So I put myself in a position that even if I didn't get an athletic scholarship, I had enough grades to get an academic scholarship. And what was interesting about that, and I think what you and Gerald probably saw, but it wasn't talked about a lot, is I did not use the student athlete advisors. I went straight to the business school and picked the best advisor they had in business school. So if you recall those days that I was late to practice a few times and coach was pissed off because I was late, that's why, because I was in classes that had no other athlete in them. I graduated in 3 years. So that 3-2 program that people talk about, even though it's not publicized, I'll tell you, Marvin, I was the first athlete to do that. And I graduated in 3 years and started working on my master's. And if you look at the history of football now, it's very rare for you to see a player not graduate in 3 years. So that's something that I started. The athletic advisors were not offering that. The business school did offer that for me. And now every athlete is afforded the opportunity to complete their undergrad in 3 years. And if you get redshirted, you walk out of school with a master's today. Whereas back in the days, the focus was simply on football.
My hat's off to you again, man. Again, we were always admiring the work ethic and how you put things together. Because John Deaver, you know, the first time he hit me with that, well, you're a student athlete. I said, no, man, I'm an athletic student. I'm here to play football. The school stuff, I ain't worried about. Then I got hurt and had to use my brain full time. So you never know what life's going to force you into. So, you know, you got to take the good with the bad. But you being you with that solid foundation, and how easy or how difficult was it for you to transition into actually playing college ball? Because you played and you were a great player.
You know, it was tough because, you know, I'll tell you, unlike most athletes, don't get me wrong, everything – what my dad instilled in me growing up is whatever you start, you finish, right? So coming from Reform, Alabama, even though it was 30 minutes down the road from Tuscaloosa, I mean, name the number of athletes from Pickens County that was doing something major. it wasn't any.
Right.
And even though we have, like, you can go back in the 60s and see we had one person from Reform, Alabama that made it to the league. Other than that, the only person that acted was Walter Jones, who is a Hall of Famer today. But
Right.
outside of that, that was it. Wayne Davis, you can argue Wayne Davis, who still leads in tackles for Alabama, came out of Gordo, Alabama. But in terms of having a sustainable, successful NFL career and doing something more with football, we just didn't see it. So I honestly didn't believe I was talented enough coming from Reform, Alabama, a 2A school compared to 6A where you come from. In some cases, not even smart enough to make it through University of Alabama. So, I walked in there with imposter syndrome, thinking that I wasn't good enough and had to overcome that, all of those thoughts I had, the negativity I had in my mind and thinking I wasn't good enough. And quite honestly, Marvin, it didn't come until like my junior or senior year before I started believing that I'd belong there. My freshman, sophomore year, I still did not believe I belonged.
Well, you belonged. Not only did you belong, you were great at it. So you played in a lot of big games at Alabama. One in particular, we share a similar history with.
Yes.
The LSU game in 99.
Yes.
A lot of people were hurt that game, but most people don't even talk about you being hurt that game. What exactly happened to you, and what was the process after that?
Yeah, that's amazing, man. So many of us got hurt that game, and I got hurt early in the game, and obviously, that was the demise for you in that. But I do recall going up and trying to get a pass deflection, and one of the receivers going under me, and I came down on my shoulder. I separated my shoulder that game. I ended up playing the rest of the game, and not only that, I ended up playing the rest of the year. And I did everything I could, and that's the best way to say it. Whatever it took to stay on the field, I was on the field. And I didn't have surgery until the offseason, May of the following year. May of 2000, when I had shoulder surgery, after recognizing that I just didn't have it anymore. I didn't have the strength, and I thank God to this day for Coach Terry Jones. He was the one that said, man, you need to go and get a second opinion because, Tony, I know you. I see you. Something's not right. And had it not been for him, I probably wouldn't have got a second opinion. And we all know how that story is. Talk about me being radical. All right. That's something else that happened in my career. I know that's what you baited me on. That's something else that happened in my career. I was one of the first players to ever go against the grain, and Dr. Andrews did my surgery, not the team doctor.
Smart man.
And I caught a lot of slack for that. And what most people don't recognize, if you look at that, I chose that to skip spring ball. I chose to get surgery by Dr. Andrews. And if you go and look at the history, for the first 3 games of my senior year, after starting the last 2 years, I didn't start. And it was because of the backlash of the way I chose to treat my body, which I thought was the right thing. I went to Dr. Andrews, thought it was the right thing. And if you go and look back at my senior season, where I should have started every game after I'd been okay to go early August, Coach had different plans and chose to make an example out of me. So that's what I know that's where you was trying to go with that.
That's not where I was trying to go with that. Although I did get a lot of that same backlash when I went to another doctor because I knew something wasn't right with my knee. So I go to another doctor to get a second opinion, and he confirmed everything that I already felt and knew that it wasn't right. So I was not going to go there, but hey.
Yeah. Hey, but it's real. I think people need to understand that there's a lot of politics in college ball. And, back in the days, we didn't have the platform of social media, to speak out on our behalf, and, our PR department really handled everything for us. And we really didn't have a voice, right. Other than, Tuscaloosa News or some of the other outlets that came. But, we wasn't bold. We wasn't that bold to step out and speak against the university during that time. Whereas today's players don't mind speaking out, and they have a social media following in high school, right? So they have thousands of people that know them nationally and globally in high school, but we had to come to the university to make our name known in most cases. Right. So that's the difference between, today's athlete and yesterday's athlete, that they just have way more avenues to promote themselves, which is better for them individually from a business aspect. and as well as have that following where they can use that social media platform to reach out to those fans.
Hey, Tony, going back to the recruitment stage, what schools were interested in you when you're coming out of high school?
Yeah, that's a good question, man. I literally, the easiest way to tell people is I was recruited nationally, other than the schools in Florida. No Florida school recruited me for one reason or another. But when I nailed down my top 5 list, my number 1 was Stanford. I wanted to go to California. My parents won't let me go. But I was my top 5 was Stanford, Tennessee, Alabama, Auburn, and Notre Dame. Is what I nailed it down to, and I ended up choosing to stay close to home versus go to Stanford like I really, really wanted to do. Who knows? I could have been homeboys with Tiger Woods these days. You know what I mean? Because it would have been the same time frame.
Well, just a heads up, later on in this interview, keep that Tennessee thing in your mind. We got to talk about that. Being from a small town, what was it? I noticed when you talking to Marvin, you was talking about negativity. You didn't feel like you belonged there. Yeah. Being from a small town, what was it like going to a big school like Alabama?
Man, it was, again, 30 miles down the road, my man. And it was like a new world to me. I finished top of my class, in the top three of the class when I graduated. You know, so I hung my hat really on academics. And I got there, and I'll never forget, put it in context, my graduating high school class was less than 30 people. Let's start there, okay? So I walk into my first class, and I'm seeing more people than I even graduated with, right? So, and these people came from powerful schools, and what I found is I really didn't know how to study. So I struggled my first semester, and what Marvin may not have known is I was a dual sport scholarship player. I was supposed to play baseball also in college. But after not having a great first semester in academics, because I had a standard that I wanted for myself, after not having a good first semester, I told Coach Wells, I said, hey, man, I got to focus on academics. I can't be just focused on, come out for baseball right now. And if you remember, Marvin, Chris Ryer did do it. So Chris Ryer and I both came in to play football and baseball for the University of Alabama. But the biggest difference was, again, getting used to the number of students there, learning how to study, and then transitioning to understanding that football is a business. And I need to, have my mind right for that business too.
Now, you played at Alabama. By far, hands down, the most powerful college football team. There's no doubt about it. The trophies speak for themselves. Right. So I talked to you one time before, and you said on draft day, there was a run on safeties, and you weren't expected to be drafted that high. But it ends up that you're drafted in the second round, Dallas Cowboys, right, America's team, which is pretty much one of the most powerful NFL teams. It's like Alabama and Dallas. When you look at the two leagues, they are pretty much considered the standard. So how did Alabama prepare you for your time playing in Dallas?
Man, you know what? That is a great – and I'm tackling – and that was a tackle on that, by the way. That was me tackling Tiki Barber. It may not look like it from there, but Tiki went down. But you are exactly right. You are exactly right. I played for arguably the two most coveted teams in the college ranks as well as professional ranks. And I took that, when I went into Dallas Cowboys, when people heard that I played for University of Alabama, it's a different level of thought for players that come from not only SEC, but when you come from Alabama, because they understand the pressures that you have to win, and they understand the tradition behind that program that players before us have carried, and it was our responsibility as players to take that torch and run with it. It was no different at Dallas Cowboys. So if you really think about when we came in 97, that was, 5 years off of that national championship run at University of Alabama. When I came into Dallas Cowboys in 2001, obviously they were 6 years outside of their last championship. And not only that, Troy Aikman no longer there, right? You're the only person of the trio that was there, because Michael Irvin was gone. It was only Emmitt Smith still there, a slew of the linemen like Larry Allen, Mark Stepnowski, and all those other names, and you had the beast of Darren Woodson that was back at my counterpart at safety, who truly I came in to backfield. They was assuming Woody was about to retire, so they drafted me saying we want somebody similar to his to Woody's style, 220 plus pounds that could cover and play linebacker. That's why I was drafted. My rookie year, the backfield, believe it or not, was Darren Woodson and George Teague were the two starting safeties. So I got a chance to train under Alabama great in George Teague, and arguably somebody that should already be in the NFL Hall of Fame, and Darren Woodson was who I walked in training under. So I already knew the pressures that come with it. Now, granted, playing in NFL is a totally different melting pot of pressure. However, I understood the tradition and what tradition meant for an organization, and I wore that with pride, and I carried myself in that manner the entire time I was with that organization.
Now, I know it's important for you to start everything that you finish. And, you know, you had that injury in college that kind of derailed a little bit of college. In the NFL, you also had another injury.
Yeah.
We know all too well in that sport, you never know when it's going to happen, and you don't know the extent of the injury usually and how it's going to impact your career. So what exactly happened, and how did it lead you away from the game?
Yeah, you know, this is one of the stories that most people don't know. You wouldn't know if you weren't so close to me, right? Because I really didn't share it. But I was an unrestricted free agent in my 5th year. I had my 4-year contract when I first started Cowboys. You can go back and look, the last year and a half of my contract, I was a starter for the Dallas Cowboys. And even though I got hurt in my 4th year, tore my hamstring middle of the season, when I went out, I was one of the leading safeties in interceptions, pass deflection, sacks, as well as on special teams tackle. You can always go back and research it. So later on that year, I came back and worked my way back into the system, but it was my, again, contract year. And anybody know NFL business, contract year is the time you're going to get your money, right? So here I am again, where I went through a situation where Bill Parcells and team chose not to play me at the level that I was playing before, because why? They trying to protect their investment. Did they want to sign me back? Heck yeah, they did. And they did sign me back. But did they want to sign me for the money that I was worth? Heck no. You know, so my playing time, the balance of that 4th year was suppressed. So then I come back into my 5th year and unrestricted free agent, played half the season there, was getting ready to re-sign, which would have been my 6th year. Here go again. I'm having pain. I'm having tingling, numbness down my arm. I suffered some stingers, so I thought it was nothing much to it. But here again, another strength coach said, look, you need to go and get this checked out. I go and get it checked out. Come to find, I have a spinal issue. And I have a spinal issue between C4, C7. And the way the doctor told me and explained it to me was there's a 50-50 chance that you could be paralyzed if you go out and you're in a collision and hit somebody the wrong way. So here I am getting ready to re-sign and getting ready to go do workouts. And this time my oldest son, was born. And I'm picturing in my mind as a safety, Marvin, same thing as linebacker. You can't play with fear. If you play with fear, you're gonna get hurt. So here I am thinking about making a life decision on whether I should continue to pursue football, go and have this surgery, or take a chance at a possibility of being paralyzed the rest of my life. And I honestly just called my agent after I prayed about it, thought about it. I called my agent and say, hey, I'm done. And it was literally a fade to black. It was no fanfare. It was no media on it. The assumption of most was it's like, he doesn't have it anymore. What most people don't know. No, I had teams ready to sign me. I chose to walk away and put my health and my family first at that point. It was a tough decision because I knew I could still play. I was getting better. I was smarter. My read and reaction was totally better than it was when I first started. But it was one of the most difficult decisions I ever had to make in my life, which led to depression and thoughts of suicide. And going through that before I was able to make the transition and get back into the business world and now make it to the levels I am today as an executive of a Fortune 500 company. Before that, I was ready to kill myself, and because I just couldn't see being, a game that I loved and had dedicated 17 years to walk away like that was tough for me to do. And I tell people all the time, most people look at me and say I'm one of the strongest mentally people they ever met, but no, even I went through depression. Even I was ready to kill myself, even to the point of having a gun to my head several times without the chamber being loaded, practicing what it would be like.
A lot of people will never understand what that's like, but I relate to that wholeheartedly because I've been in that situation after I got injured. People don't understand what it means to lose a thing that you spent your entire life working on, to have it just gone in the blink of an eye. A lot of people will never understand how it just rips your heart out, man. I mean, it's brutal, man. And just like you, man, I had a lot of dark days, man. It was a lot of days when I questioned a lot of things, and I was, on the verge of doing a lot of stupid things because, again, it's like, hell, I've lost what I felt like my purpose in life was. What,
Right.
What else is there? What's left, But,
Right.
For you, I'm glad, things turned around well for you and you took advantage of your education. And that thing that me and Gerald admired most about you was that fact that you always was so dedicated to your education and putting yourself in a better position. And now you're doing what you're doing today, which is by far, man, that is the most impressive thing that I can say about any former player that I know. To go from where, from playing to what you're doing now, it is amazing, brother. So, what exactly is your job now?
Yeah, let me tell you this before I even talk on that. What people don't understand about the psyche of football or anything related to athletic prowess is in education, if someone fires you, in all likelihood, you're going to get a job in similar scope with another company and keep living your life. When you're an athlete, that is the only thing that somebody, one organization can say your services are no longer needed and you can't get another job. That is the only thing in life. I mean, the psyche of one person, one organization saying your services are no longer needed, you best believe the other organization going to fall behind them and say, okay, well, they didn't want him. He or she is obviously not capable anymore. And your career is over. That's where it's such a difficult balance mentally on how to handle that. But to your question, I ended up getting with PepsiCo. I joined the PepsiCo organization in 2009. Prior to that, I was doing some financial services with some other companies, but I've now been with the PepsiCo, specifically Frito-Lay, for the last over 11 years now, and was able to get with that organization, was fast-tracked through because of the performance I was showing and the ability to lead people. In less than 5 years, I was fast-tracked to the executive level. So I've been an executive with a Fortune 500, as I say, organization with Frito-Lay for the last 6 years now. And have had the ability to lead teams larger than 300 people. I now work in headquarters in Plano. I don't necessarily have a team, but I'm now working on the transformation and strategy side of the operation. And my job is to work on the future forward things that are going to keep the premium growth and sustainability and success of our organization, over the years, 10 to 20 years from now. Given that Frito-Lay has been a company that's been around for more than 50 years. So I get to work, nationally and globally in some of the things that I'm working on to make sure that we remain the number one snacking company in CPG, because that's what we are. Everybody have something in their pantry from PepsiCo. Best believe it. Everybody love Lay's, Fritos, Doritos, Cheetos. I could go on and on. I bet you it's in your pantry. Even if you like a workout king like Marvin, we have better for you products too.
Hey, Tony, man, just listening to what you said about depression and everything and about suicide. When I was doing my research about you, I just want to tell you straight up, man, you're one of those people that inspired me. I mean, you are somebody that, I strive to be like, go out there and just at the football, you said yourself, you fell on your face, but you know what? You pick yourself back up, and, that's life. And, you're somebody I strive to be like, and I'm glad you made the right decision and still here with us. But I say that humbly and I say that respectfully. With that said, I got to try to make you laugh.
Okay.
All right. We had Andrew Zhao on the show, and he made an interesting point. We was talking about the rivalries at Auburn and Alabama, but he said, you know what, man, I hate Tennessee a lot more than I hate Auburn. My question to you, what was your biggest rivalry? Auburn, Tennessee, Southern Miss? What was your big rivalry?
Man, I'm gonna tell you, I'm Andrew Zhao is absolutely right. If it came down, and maybe the rivalry is not what it used to be, obviously for obvious reasons, and how we've been dominating Tennessee. But during our era, Roll Tide. During our era, I looked at Auburn like that was like the brother that played on a different team, like the next county over. So if you think about Reform and Gordo, that rivalry is one of the best rivalries in the state of Alabama. I looked at them like that. Auburn game, yeah, we got up for that, but that was mostly a fan duel more than a player. But in terms of just absolutely hating, I hated Tennessee. Without a doubt, I hated Tennessee. And if you think back, I'm gonna take you back on why I hate them even more so. 1997, when they beat us in Legion Field in Birmingham, that was Peyton Manning's senior year. What did Peyton Manning do after they beat us his senior year in Birmingham? Do you remember?
He directed the band, baby.
Man, that man got up and started directing the band, okay? So that was my freshman year, and getting introduced to that Tennessee-Alabama rivalry. And, man, it's something different about, at least during that time, there was something different about going and playing, against Tennessee. And I would tell you the second most hated team for me was LSU. Because if you go back my freshman year again, Herb Tyler, Jamal Lewis, I can name a whole lot of people from that other team. LSU was the next one. And we took pride in the fact that we had not lost in Death Valley in LSU since 1969. And unfortunately, I had to be a member of the team that allowed them to beat us. I want to say that may have been 99, well, not 99, but maybe 2000.
2000, because we beat them in Tuscaloosa in 99.
99, that's right. So 2000, unfortunately, not only that was one of the worst seasons in the history of football my senior year for University of Alabama. But not only that we had a record of any time we went to LSU on their home field, defeating them since 1969, and our team had to be the one to disrupt that. But Tennessee is definitely number one, LSU number two, and I would say Auburn will be number three in terms of most hated rivalries when I was playing.
Well, I would say this. There's one former Alabama player that I know that really does not like Auburn. I'm not saying no names, Marvin Constant. But, I had to ask you this, just being a football fan. I'm not a Dallas Cowboys fan by no means. I've been an Atlanta Falcon fan my whole life. But you did play with some legends.
Yeah.
You mentioned Emmitt Smith, University of Florida, Arizona Cardinals, Hall of Famer, all-time leading rusher. As a teammate, what was he like?
Emmitt was awesome as a teammate. I will tell you, you think about it, here I am 21 walking into the locker room, and I'm playing with guys that are great, 30 years and older. And I think the challenge of having a youthful mindset walking into that locker room is the only thing you're used to is how you handled yourself and conducted yourself in college, meaning you had schoolwork you had to do, right? You had class you had to attend, then you had practice you had to go to. You get to the league, this is your life. I mean, you're getting there at 6 o'clock in the morning. You're not leaving until 7 or 8 o'clock at night in most cases. So I will tell you, Emmitt and all the other veterans were very you were not going to build a relationship with them until you prove something to them. So that's what practice and training camp and the games, specifically training camp, your rookie year. Because in preseason, when we have a normal preseason, most people know those first 3 games as a rookie, I don't care how high you drafted, you're going to be playing. And those vets are going to be on the sideline. And that's when you have to build credibility by your dedication. They have to be able to see that you're willing to put in extra work. They have to see that you're dedicated to this. They have to see that you're not a person that are satisfied with the fact you just got paid and not willing to put in the work. And once I started building that relationship and credibility with them, I will tell you, people like Emmett are some of the best players to have in the locker room, because they took you on as like a little brother, and when they saw you making small mistakes, be it mental or even dealing with the transition of having football as your true life, as your job, that's when they would come and just, sometimes would slip something in your locker or would call you over. Come here, young buck, and just have a conversation with you and kind of walk you through on things you can do different to be better. But I would tell you that relationship wasn't granted to everybody, right? You had to earn your keep with players like him. But once you earn your keep, it's nothing greater than to have a legend mentoring you through things you need to do.
Tony, I want to thank you again for your time. I know you're a busy man and you got things to do. We're very, very appreciative that you took time out of your busy schedule for us today. So in closing, I have one last question for you.
Okay.
Was the Taco Bell worth it?
I still say it was. I just shouldn't have been out a whole game. It should have been one half. But yes, it was worth it, man. I was hungry.
For those of you who don't know, Tony got busted in college one time for breaking curfew before a game. He went out to get Taco Bell because he was hungry, and he got suspended for a game.
A full game, man. The first time I ever been in trouble, and I get made out as an example and get suspended the whole game, man. Oh my God.
Whoa. Who called
Yes. Oh, I can't. I know who, but I'm just.
We know who called him, but we're not gonna give that person up. We're not gonna give him up.
No, you can't do that. You can't leave us hanging.
Man, this bum even sent me. This bum just sent me a friend request on LinkedIn and all kind of stuff trying to connect. I deleted that. I'm like, man, no, I'm not over that. So, do I hold a grudge on that person, that one person? Yes, I got a grudge the rest of my life with him.
All right. So basically, Sean Alexander, he snitched you out. Okay, we got it. Thank you.
Oh man, brother, it's truly been a pleasure, man. I want to thank you again, man. Hey, I look forward to seeing you real soon. And also, man, I need you to text me your address so I can send you a copy of this book, man, so we can get you, back on.
Yeah, man. Yeah, fit at 40, man. Shoot, you killing all of us, dude. God, dog.
Man, I'm just trying to stay in shape, man.
Man, you making it hard for us, brother. You making it hard for all of us.
I'm just trying to inspire.
Yeah, you're inspiring, all right. But I sure seen the address, and man, it's been an honor to be on here. I appreciate you all inviting me on, and I've enjoyed every minute of it.
All right, thanks again, brother.
All right, now.
Kelsey! Kelsey, you could have got hurt. Why would you do this?
I went to Angel's thrift store where Kaylin's Treasures keeps all their inventory and bought you your favorite ring.
Girl, you must have lost your damn mind.
If you don't like it, why don't I just kick your butt?
Kelsey, I'm sorry.